Saturday, March 25th, 1911 started out like any other workday for roughly 600 employees of the Triangle Waste Company in New York City. At 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the first alarm came into the fire department.
It was already too late. In 18 minutes, 123 women and girls and 23 men died in the fire, from the smoke, or by jumping or falling from the 10-story building trying to escape. And it could have been prevented. This is the story of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire.
Let's dig into this.
Warning: viewer discretion advised.
The Triangle Waste Company, located on the top 3 floors of the Ash Building at the corner of Green Street and Washington Place in Manhattan, made ladies' blouses, which were called shirtwaists in those days. It was owned by Max Blank and Isaac Harris, who also owned the Diamond Waste Company. Blank and Harris were typical factory owners for the day, which isn't saying much. Known as the Shirtwaist Kings, they produced more than 1,000 shirts a day, and the company had over $1 million a year in sales by 1908.
The Triangle Factory was pretty typical at the time, too. According to the later AFL-CIO reports on the fire, the employees, mostly immigrant teenagers, worked Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. with a half-hour lunch break for lunch. Saturdays were 7-hour days, except during busy times when they put in 13 hours. And the pay? Between $6 and $10 a week, or about 8 to 14 cents an hour. In the days when a cup of coffee costs a nickel and a loaf of bread was about 6 cents and a dozen eggs was a little over 30 cents, you can tell the pay was low, but not out of line with other factory jobs at the time.
It was hard work. Sometimes the workers were required to provide their own needles, thread, irons, and even sewing machines. Triangle factory workers did not even have a bathroom available in the building. There were 4 elevators, but only one worked, and the employees had to stand in line down a long hallway to use it. There were also 2 staircases that went all the way down to the street, but one was locked from the outside. Doors in both stairwells leading to other floors were kept locked to try and keep workers from taking breaks. The Ash Building did have a fire escape, which was later found to have fasteners so weak only one person could use it at a time, if they dared. It was old and, like a lot of the factory, not maintained.
Piles of fabrics and supplies, baskets of scraps and trash, hot equipment like irons, constantly running machines, and severely cramped workspaces all made for a dangerous situation. Owners Blank and Harris were well aware of the danger of fire. In fact, the Triangle factory had had 2 small fires since 1902, and their other factory, the Diamond factory, burned in 1907 and 1910. Blank and Harris were suspected of deliberately setting their businesses on fire at night to collect large insurance claims. They refused to install sprinkler systems in the factories, and claims were later made that it was because they wanted to be able to burn the businesses if they needed the insurance money in the future.
So when a bin full of rags in the cutting room on the 8th floor started burning on Saturday, March 25th, 1911, it was taken seriously. Someone grabbed a fire hose to put out the flames, but the valve was rusted closed, and it was so rotted the hose disintegrated in his hands. And the flames grew quickly, fed by flammable fabric and paper. Panic set in immediately. Employees started to try and get out of the building by using the elevator, which could only hold 12 people at a time, and broke down after just 4 trips. Some of the girls, waiting for the elevator that never came back, tried to slide down the elevator cables. None of them made it to the bottom without losing their grip. Others just threw themselves down the elevator shaft rather than burn to death.
Other employees ran down the stairs, only to find themselves faced with locked doors. Many were reportedly burned alive. The fire escape at the back of the building collapsed almost immediately, throwing more than 24 people trying to escape to their deaths. Girls who could not get in the elevator or stairwell started jumping from windows, just as the fire department arrived.
Owners Blank and Harris happened to be on the 10th floor above the fire. They immediately headed for the roof without ever giving instructions or aid to their workers. A few smart and very lucky employees followed them. Eventually, they were able to cross over to the roof of an adjoining building. One survivor reported that a group of men tried to form a human ladder to help rescue folks, but they all fell to their deaths.
A huge crowd gathered outside the building and watched as the fire department tried in vain to fight the fire. The department ladders only reached the 6th floor, making rescues impossible. More girls started to jump from the windows, some landing on fire hoses that could not be moved or used with the bodies on them. Life nets were held to try to catch jumpers, but 3 girls jumped at once, ripping one net, and the others were deemed useless due to the height of the fall. Witnesses reported some of those jumping were already burning.
It took 18 minutes. The investigation would show 36 girls had died in the elevator shaft. 50 more had died from smoke inhalation or burned alive. 60 had jumped from windows. 58 of them died immediately, and 2 died within hours from their injuries. The final death toll was 146. 123 women and girls and 23 men died that day. Many were burned so badly that their remains could not be identified.
The people of New York City were devastated by the fire and angry. Just 11 days after the tragedy, on April 5th, an estimated 100,000 people lined the streets and walked behind the hearses of some of those lost in the fire as they were transported to a memorial service and burial. Other funerals for those killed were also attended by huge crowds. The International Ladies Garment Workers Union quickly gained huge support, and in October of 1911, New York passed the Sullivan-Hooey Fire Prevention Law. It required factory owners to install sprinkler systems and establish the New York City Fire Prevention Bureau, giving its commissioner powers to impose and enforce fire safety on factories. It is estimated that over 30 new health and safety regulations and fire laws across the United States can be directly attributed to the Triangle Factory fire.
Maybe the most jaw-dropping part of the Triangle Factory fire is this. The owners, Blank and Harris, were able to recover $410 per worker from their insurance company, claiming loss of productivity. Lawsuits were filed by the families of 23 of the victims. Each family eventually received $75 in damages. And despite evidence and testimony by over 150 witnesses of locked doors, lack of safety equipment, and failure to maintain a safe work environment, a grand jury acquitted the owners of the Triangle Waste Factory on all charges on December 27, 1911.
If you're ever in New York City and find yourself at the corner of Green Street and Washington Place, the old Ash building is still there. It's called the Brown Building now and was named a National Historic Landmark in 1991. It doesn't look exactly like it did in 1911, but the memories are still there.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one.